I'd like to call to order this annual general meeting of the Food Co-op, Port Townsend. I'm Owen Rowe, president of the board, and I'd like to welcome our members, board members, staff, member owners, and community. Black Lives Matter. The Food Co-op stands in solidarity with the BIPOC community against injustice, racism, discrimination, and violence of any kind. We support groups that are doing important work in our community, and we commit to doing our part to change the paradigm. We are taking this opportunity to listen, to educate ourselves, and to act. The Food Co-op will strive to become an anti-racist organization working for racial justice together with economic justice, climate justice, and food justice. And we will hold ourselves accountable to take real action on behalf of our employees, our member owners, and our community. Although we are meeting today in a virtual space, the Food Co-op exists on traditional lands of the S'Klallam people and a place of gathering and passage for other tribes and nations for many centuries. In a spirit of gratitude and respect, we acknowledge this place, known by the S'Klallam people as Katai, and today called Port Townsend. We ask that our words and deeds today may help to honor, preserve, and restore this land and all its people, past, present, and for generations to come. These statements, like our cooperative business itself, are grounded in the 7 principles of the International Cooperative Alliance: voluntary and open membership, democratic member control, member economic participation, autonomy and independence, education, training, and information, cooperation among cooperatives, and concern for community. The Food Co-op is guided by our mission of working together to nourish our community and our 7 values of inclusion, respect, participation, integrity, stewardship, resiliency, and love. And finally, let me wish a happy Pride to our lesbian, gay, bi, trans, queer, intersex, asexual, two-spirit, and other identifying staff, member owners, and community. Here's the agenda for today. We're calling this annual meeting Strictly Business because last year, based on your feedback, we split the business portion from the community celebration and we began planning a harvest festival for later in the year. Given public health restrictions, we've had to move the business meeting online. Thank you for your understanding and for your continued interest and engagement in your co-op. This year's annual report is included in the summer edition of Around the Table, the co-op's newsletter, and is also available on our website at foodcoop.coop. I'll begin by reviewing the work your co-op board of directors accomplished in 2019 and our plans for 2020. Then, General Manager Kenny Eaton will talk about the store's achievements and our financial results. I'll return to announce our patronage dividend for 2019, and then we'll be joined by Board Treasurer Monica LaRue to answer your questions. Some of you already asked questions when you registered for the Zoom call. And as I mentioned before, you can also use the Q&A feature in Zoom to ask questions during the meeting. Today also marks the opening of the annual elections for the Food Co-op's Board of Directors. After the annual meeting is over, we'll take a short break and then I'll be back for some conversation with the 4 candidates who are running for the board. Finally, we'll have a brief poll about the meeting, and then we'll pick one lucky attendee to receive a $50 shopping card for the co-op. So be sure to stick around until the end. Here's your Food Co-op Board of Directors as of today. I'm Owen Rowe, and I'm honored that the board has asked me to serve as president for the past 2 years. Jury Jennings is our vice president, Monica LaRue is our treasurer, and Lisa Barkley is our secretary. Earlier this month, Jen Diamond Hardesty stepped down from the board for personal reasons, and in order to maintain the minimum board membership of 5 people as required by our bylaws, we appointed one of this year's candidates, Charlie Dick. His interim appointment is only until the results of the election are certified. We'd like to recognize and thank Jen for her work on the board over the past 2 years and wish her the best for the future. This is also the end of the elected terms for Lisa and Monica, And to ensure that the co-op can continue to benefit from their many years of experience, we'll be designating them as emerita members for the next year. They'll be supporting the board's work, but without a vote in board decisions. Jury, as chair of the Community Engagement Committee, coordinated this annual meeting, and I'd also like to recognize Board Assistant Sharon Dowenhauer for her hard work behind the scenes. In 2019, the board celebrated the adoption of our new mission and value statements and helped wrap up the store's expansion project. We were just getting started on some big plans for 2020 when the coronavirus pandemic hit. The board's COVID-19 response has included holding all of our meetings online since the middle of March. We are hoping to return to in-person meetings in August. We've also supported the general manager in responding to the changing business environment and public health regulations. In fact, in response to community need, 3 board members volunteered to help the store begin a grocery delivery program on short notice when Governor Inslee first issued his stay-at-home order. In the rest of 2020, we'll pick up as much of our board work plan as we can. We've already shifted board elections to better align with member-owner communications, so as you know, voting is open as of today. Monica is leading us through a process of renewing and refreshing our bylaws and our articles of incorporation, and you'll be hearing more from us about that project soon. Unfortunately, we've had to set aside plans for our first Harvest Festival this fall, but the board will continue to lead the co-op in contributing to community recovery efforts, addressing climate disruption, and work towards becoming an anti-racist organization. And now I'd like to turn it over to our general manager, Kenna Eaton, for the business and financial portion of the meeting. But first, I want to say from the board how grateful we are for Kenna's steady hand and her dedication to the job in these very unsettled times, and how confident we are in her leadership going forward.
Welcome, everyone. And thank you for joining us in our very first virtual annual general meeting. I think we're going to have a lot of fun. It's been a little bit of a technological line dance for us as we figure these things out. So thanks for being patient with us. We're sure to get the hang of this. So what I'm going to look at today and talk about is our renovation project that we completed last year. I'm going to look at the 2019 financial results, and we're going to talk a little bit about 2020 so far and the changes that have happened during the past few months. All right, let's go to the next slide, please. So the expansion, well, we had a lot of fun doing that, but sure, it was a lot of work. And we started, as you might recall, breaking ground in April of 2018. The picture here is of when we completed the grand reveal. So in between, we added on almost 3,000 square feet, most of which is our back rooms to allow our staff to do their work in a better way, a more efficient way. Gave us more storage as well. So the rest of the space we turned into the new north entrance, and that helped us then move into rearranging the interior of the store and getting ready for moving things around. So the project took about 15 months and was a lot of work. We gained a lot in this project, and I'm going to take a couple of minutes to go through the slides and talk about and show you some pictures of what we did as we went through the project. So the many parts actually went really smoothly, and it turned out we were only closed for half a day. It's pretty impressive when you think about it, and I want to thank everybody for putting up with so much of what we did, from shoppers to vendors to staff. It was a huge project, and we're just going to look through some of these pictures and remind us of what we were and where we are now. So both the south and the north entrances were reworked. The south entrance was turned into the nook for the wellness department. You might recall we really wanted to move the wellness department into the center of the store, wanted to give ourselves room out front for the dining area and incorporate the wellness department into the rest of the store. We did create a new exit door there and had to put up a little bit of a windshield because, as we all know, when the south wind blows, things go crazy. At the north side, we wanted to have a warm, welcoming entrance. We wanted it to be dry and out of the elements. And we think we achieved that. We're really excited by our successes there. I will admit the north entrance got changed at the last moment, and we're still a little bit of a work in progress in how it's actually going to all pan out. But we are nothing if not adept at dealing with challenges. So back rooms, they were so crowded. They were so difficult to work in, and staff would receive product all day long, mostly out in the parking lot. And you can see that in the top right-hand corner. That's what would happen. Product would get unloaded in the parking lot. We'd work it. We'd take it into the store. We really didn't have any room to store it inside. And then we'd take it back out again, where it would spend all day until we brought it back in again overnight. Sounds inefficient, doesn't it? And that's because it was. Now we have a lovely, well-lit, dry receiving area. And things are so much more efficient. So we're really excited by that. You can see also that outside we pushed back as far as we could on the property line. We installed a concrete wall, which was quite the miracle, watching them shoot the concrete, and put back there a covered area for our waste stream. This allows us to store some items there, to store our recycling, to store our compost, to all the phases, all the way down to the trash cans, because we still do have some trash. Our bulk department was then moved into our old dining room, as you can see, again to make room for wellness. It was quite tricky, but bringing wellness into the store was one of our key points that we really wanted to achieve. We also really wanted to update our deli and offer you a better way to buy our hot food. We had done a sort of temporary thing, as you might recall, and installing this hot bar was really exciting for us. Unfortunately, since the outbreak of the coronavirus, we have had to really reassess how we utilize the hot bar and cold salad bar, and still not quite sure of its future. So yes, you can still buy things there, but it's not being used quite the way we imagined. It's going to be interesting to see what happens next. In the produce department, at the front of the store, the biggest change was rearranging the flow. We turned the long, wet produce case 90 degrees to allow you to see all the way through the store. I think in the after picture, a really good shot, you can see that blue wall at the back of the store. Didn't used to be able to see through. People may not have even known we had a grocery department. We did enlarge the space, and we added more vertical refrigeration. It worked so much better for our staff, and we hope it works better for you too as a customer. The back wall gets called the dairy wall, and that really didn't change at all. I think we have decided to wait and see how well our project went before we think about upgrading that case. But we did freshen it up with new paint and new marketing. And I think you can also see throughout the store that the old tile was removed, and we now just have a polished concrete floor. That was also a really big project that we had to do. Our store is only about 9.5 feet above sea level, and the salts come up through the floor. And what they were doing was causing the tile to disintegrate and fall apart. And so we felt it was really critical. We've been advised by a lot of professionals. We just needed to take the tile off the floor, polish it, and let it do its thing. And we've been super happy with the results. Our meat department had a thorough makeover. Prior to the whole project, I do want to say that we checked in with our local producers and we said, what can we do to be better partners? And they said, you could buy and sell more of our product. So key to this project was expanding both the produce and the meat department. Previously, the meat department, if you look at the top right-hand corner, was sort of operating out of a closet, literally had been a closet. Now they have a proper workspace with room to do all the cutting and the wrapping and the grinding that they need to do. And it is refrigerated, and that allows our meat products to have a longer shelf life. Out on the floor, we also gave the meat department a fresh new case for the poultry, the pork, and the beef. And we gave them a new case for seafood, so we separated the two. We also added 3 doors of frozen for the meat as well. And again, this was really in response to our local producers who said, we really need you to be better sellers to allow shoppers to buy more, but also allow us to sell you more. And we said, all right, sounds like a deal. We can do that. So the short version is that we solved many of our problems, increasing backroom storage, adding workspace, a new break room for staff, and additional bathroom. And along the way, we might have created a few new problems. Example, that north entry, still a work in progress. But I'm pretty convinced we'll get it figured out before too long. Work was accomplished by an awesome team. All of our staff really stepped up to the plate throughout the year. Our local vendors put up with bringing product to the back door and then the front door and then the side door, and they were very, very patient with everything. And of course, our awesome board of directors. We couldn't have done this without their support. So how did the year work out? Well, oddly, it worked out very well. What we have up here is a copy of our financials for 2019. If you also have a copy of the annual report, which you could have in your hand, we inserted it into the leader, or possibly you could find it online. You can look at that and find out more. And if you have questions, we're always happy to take them. So in general, we had a very good year. Again, and I can't stress this enough, staff worked very hard to ensure members' needs were covered during all phases of construction. So as a result, our sales increased by a little bit under 4%. Now, most of this happened after the floors were finished and the store was reopened. And really, it was just an easier place to shop and also an easier place to work. So that was definitely a win-win. Some of our expenses did increase, not significantly. But amazing and true was that we did make a small profit of 1.7%. Now, I do want to say that there's a couple of things in here that also need a little explanation. We do have a profit sharing program. We call it Gain Share. And we did make a payout to our staff in the fourth quarter of 2019. So that total personnel cost does include that profit share. If we look further down, you might wonder about why there's a federal income tax of negative $90,000. Well, that came after the accountants audited our financials and realized that we had brought in a lot of new equipment. And as a result of that, we could claim a depreciation. So depreciation is the way that the federal government has of compensating a business for spending money on equipment. So in this case, they allowed us to take this credit of over $90,000 on our federal income tax. So altogether, the profit came to a little over $275,000. When we look at the balance sheet, you can see that your co-op has a very strong balance sheet and our ratios are excellent. I'm so impressed. Again, that's just hard work all around. So We've invested, as you can see, $5.7 million in our land, our building, and our equipment. We've all got very strong assets, and we do have some debts we're going to have to pay off. Some people have wondered how much this project cost. And the final number is $3.8 million. Might sound like a lot, but it would have been a lot more had we decided to build a new building. This decision to remodel in place was, we felt, the most fiscally responsible decision we could make. We did borrow some money from the bank, and that came in at a little less than $2 million. We did not need to go to the members for a vote or an approval because that was less than our net worth. And for those of you who know our articles and bylaws, you'll know that if we wanted to borrow more than our net worth, we would need to go to the members for approval. The difference came out of our savings. We have been waiting a long time for this project, and we've been able to save up quite a bit of money for it. So we were in a very strong financial position when we took this project on, and quite easily able to afford it. All right, so that's the co-op finances in a nutshell. So now we move into 2020 and the impact of the coronavirus. And boy, has it been an interesting year. It's not what we expected to do this year. We really thought we would spend the year regrouping and recovering, frankly, from the renovation project. It certainly was hard work, and it was fun, and it's had great results, but we were looking forward to kind of going ahead with a whole new year of fun projects, fixing things that needed work on and finishing up some things. And instead, we are having fun with the coronavirus. So supply chain interruptions has resulted in us having some seriously empty shelves. Thank you for foraging and continuing to support us through it. We do continue to fill them up as fast as we can. But we are still seeing significant out of stocks. We are wearing masks, and we have asked you to mask up as well and support us in helping keep us all healthy. We spend a lot of time sanitizing. We have always been a very clean store, but we did have to amp that up, and we did for a while shorten store hours. So we were closing at 7 p.m. instead of 9 p.m. And that allowed us that extra time to sanitize. Once we figured out what we were doing, we were able to incorporate it. We were able to reopen the store to full hours. We've got some cute signage on the floors. Hopefully you're enjoying those fresh puns. We've implemented new ways to shop, such as Co-op to Go. Of course, we're so thankful for the board for stepping up and helping shop for members and do delivery for, boy, close to 3 months. But it had allowed us to develop our own curbside shopping program internally. And we've been having fun shopping for our members. Just got to say, I did a shift myself a couple of weeks ago, and boy, is it hard. It takes a lot of work, and there's some tough decisions to be made. We've also thanked our staff for working so hard during this very stressful time by paying them an extra $2 an hour for every hour worked. That started in mid-March, and at this point, we are continuing it through the end of July. So we've made a lot of operational changes in the last few months, from limiting access to the bulk room to restricting store hours, from increasing our already frequent sanitization to asking everyone to mask up. And by the way, I do want to put out an extra special shout out and thanks to the local sewers who have made and donated many masks through the co-op. We've got shields at the registers, and we've got so much going on, and it's constantly changing. So we all have to stick close and know that things are fluid and things are changing. So another thing we did last year in the middle of that whole renovation was revamp our brand. So our marketing team was hard at work at the same time. We came up with a new name for the quarterly newsletter. We call it Around the Table. It's to reflect the welcome that we want to kind of give to people, to welcome everybody to have a seat at the table in order to help us to continue to grow our successful organic natural foods co-op. You can always find the latest issue at the turn of each season online, in the store, and inserted into the leader. Then we simplified our sales flyer and dropped it down to a single double page every week to highlight our most exciting store-specific sales. And it's accompanied by our co-op deals, which is extra special savings that we get through our co-op of co-ops called the National Cooperative Grocers. We amped up our class offerings with great success and introduced a new partnership with an online cooking school called Ruby. That is free to our members. It is a serious cooking school experience. And it's got thorough education, anything from meal planning to how to cook an egg and plant-based cooking. So it's a great opportunity to learn more if you would like to do that. And of course, Co-op to Go. So we are in the process of bringing in a new platform. It's called WebCart, and it'll be kind of like you're used to with other online shopping, where you can go on and find a picture of the item that you're used to and click on a little icon and add it to your shopping cart. It's a pretty cool program. It'll remember your shopping list for you, and it makes things super easy. We will be launching that around about the third week in July, if things go right. We also took the time to relaunch our website with a new logo, but also an easier to navigate website that we keep updated on a regular basis. It's definitely more user-friendly. So if you haven't yet signed up for our newsletter online, be sure to do so, and you can keep up with all of our news and all of our sales. And lastly, but not leastly, of course, is that we spent the year supporting local. Again, a major driver for our renovation and our expansion was to make more room for locally produced goods. In 2019, 12% of our store purchases were local. We brought in 48 new Local 5 items and 129 from what we call Local Washington. So a reminder that our Local 5 are products that are grown or produced in Jefferson County or any of the surrounding counties, Clallam, Island, Kitsap, and Mason. Local Washington is things that were grown or produced in the state of Washington. And there's some great numbers here. How many Local 5 products did we sell? A lot. That is a lot of chicken and a lot of fish and a lot of soap and a lot of cheese. And we love our local producers. Right now we have about 115. It kind of ebbs and flows. Sometimes we get a new local producer, and sometimes one leaves our area, but we are always very proud of our local growers and producers, and excited to have their pitches in store and excited to carry their products in the store. So I'm going to turn this back over to Owen, and he's going to finish up this presentation. Thank you, and here comes Owen.
So for the last 4 years, the food co-op has returned a dividend on our profits to our member owners based on how much you spent at the store. In 2019, we did better than we expected, as Kenna just told you. But by the time we had the audited results and the board was making the dividend decision, we were in the middle of the coronavirus pandemic. So recognizing that we could all use a little help right now, the board decided to increase the portion of the dividend distributed to member owners. It's still not huge. The average payout is just over $6, but your cooperative was able to earn this dividend based on our member owners' great loyalty as customers through all the disruptions of the 2019 expansion project. We all own this grocery store together, so this is really just the co-op giving back to you, its owners. Dividends will be available beginning July 1st. You can either apply your dividend to your purchase right at the register, donate it to our Grow Fund, or stop by customer service to ask for a check. The Grow Fund is our cooperative community fund, and every year we use the interest on that investment to support food, agriculture, family, and cooperative projects in our community. 2 years ago, it went to the Community Wellness Project in Chimacum. Last year, we supported 2 projects through the Food Bank Farm and Gardens. And this year, based on your donated dividends, we will have more than $1,200 to award. Grow Fund applications will be available to local organizations in August. If you choose not to donate your dividend to the Grow Fund, we do hope you'll be able to support other community organizations doing essential work, like the Jefferson County Anti-Racist Fund or the Jefferson County Food Bank Association. All right. Now, we're going to welcome Kenna back, and we'll be joined by Board Treasurer Monica LaRue. And together, we're going to answer questions from member owners. Board President Jury Jennings is our question wrangler, and she's been sorting through and grouping your questions together. And if we don't have time to answer everything today, we'll do our best to get back to you, either on our website or by email. So let's see what questions Jury has for us. And the first one is, all right, I think this is for you, Kenna. Why does the co-op not enforce their masking policy or reserved shopping hour with customers to ensure the safety of staff and members?
Boy, that's a good one. That was so easy. Of course, I'm just joking. It seems like an easy question. And from the outside, these types of decisions seem pretty straightforward. But from the inside, it always gets a heck of a lot more complicated. Unless we turn away everyone who can't wear a mask for medical or psychological reasons, which is not what the health department has asked us to do at this time, there will never be 100% compliance. So what I did was I went up to the health department's website and read through all the information. As I say, we know this is fluid and things can change, and they are likely to change. However, what we have decided is that we will be adding 4 more staff, training these people to staff the front door, and we've got to train them, of course, on de-escalation because some people are going to get angry, and we're going to create extra signage and updates that communicate these changes. So these 4 staff will be at the front door as much as we possibly can have them there. And when they're there monitoring people, we'll have to lock the south door. It will be an exit only. So that will change your shopping patterns. But this is what we have to do if we're going to have somebody standing at the door asking everybody to mask up. At this point, we can commit to having this occur through the priority shopping hours, which is 8 to 9 a.m. daily. And we will turn away anybody who is unwilling or even unable to wear a mask. We do, of course, have Co-op to Go, our curbside service for those who are uncomfortable shopping at the co-op either way. So that'll be starting this week. And we'll be navigating that as it evolves. You can help us by being patient and thanking our staff for their hard work under very stressful conditions. And of course, everybody, let's all remember to wash our hands. That's another great prevention. Okay, what's the next question?
We've got a couple more. So the next one, and well, I hope this is a little easier. Does the co-op use consumerlab.com or another option to check a product's label versus lab tests? Or are there certain products or
Yeah.
the examples are chocolate and concerned about cadmium levels.
All right, good, good. So we do have a product research committee that works on all kinds of things, but we also have product guidelines, and they're available on our website. And these really guide us. They encourage us to focus on the products that we choose to carry, and it's outlined there, as well as our list of authorized and unauthorized ingredients, which we call the TOEFL for short. However, we have not chosen at this time to include lab testing as one of our parameters. So any questions like that we have, we typically will write directly to the manufacturer and wait for them to tell us what they're doing. So the short answer is no, we don't use lab testing. Certainly something that our product research committee might be interested in looking at. And I'd like to remind whoever asked that question that you're always welcome to come and talk to our product research committee. We could use some more volunteers on there. There's a lot of work to be done, and they could always use a little bit more help.
All right. Now this, I think you've got a good answer for this one. Has there been any discussion about using the former Aldrich's market location as a satellite?
Yeah, that's not the first time I've been asked that question. But I have some really exciting news. I don't know if everybody knows this, but somebody has taken Aldrich's on, and we are so excited for them. It's a family, the Lichtenbergs, and I was just meeting with them a couple of hours ago. And they're really passionate and enthusiastic and very excited to be able to reopen Aldrich's as a grocery store in the heart of Uptown. So they're in the process right now of renovating and moving things around. They may not be able to open until about September, but they're really excited to keep that story going and to build on it. And I think they're going to be really successful. I think everybody's going to really like them. I think it's a good match. We've got a lot of passion and enthusiasm for what they're doing, and I think they're going to be very successful. So congratulations to this family, and I look forward to working with them in the future. I think there could be some good synchronicities between the co-op and Aldrich's. Thank you.
Great. All right, well, the next one is flagged for me and Monica, so I guess I'll ask it to myself.
Go for it.
If you had to choose only one issue to improve, what would it be, and how does that fit with fiscal responsibility? And when I think of issues, of course, I have the board perspective. That's how I serve the co-op. And really, how we can be most responsible in serving our members is by doing our governance job efficiently. And we've done a lot of great work on that in the past couple of years, and we've got more to come. A couple of years ago, we renewed our strategic plan under Monica's leadership. Then last year, Jerry and I led the board through actually the whole organization through a renewal of our mission and value statements. That's the ones that you saw at the beginning of this annual meeting. And then coming up soon this year, we're refreshing and renewing our bylaws and our articles of incorporation, which is how we commit to, as a board, to working for you, the member owners who elect us. So I think in terms of the work that we're doing, that's where we've been dedicating our energy as a board, and all of that by making a better working board that's able to make better decisions more efficiently. That is part of our contribution to fiscal responsibility. Monica?
In terms of additions to that, yeah, I like keeping it at that high level. Operations, the GM, they bring us really wonderful ideas, and they try not to it's so much more useful to put all of your efforts in one or two specific directions, and that happens every year. And then as a board, it's our job to monitor the situation, to make sure that it's going forward with appropriate speed and direction. It's also important to make sure that the energy we put behind it has results that just carry through to the community, that we make partnerships. And so in some ways, it's not so much the money we spend, it's the connections we make. And that Yeah, that's what I have to say about that.
And then we've got one more for Kenna. Well, it's not phrased as a question. Measures to reduce plastic. Tell us about that.
Wow, that is a big topic. I want to say that I think there is a lot of movement in the industry to reduce plastic, and frankly, much of it comes from the manufacturer. And I do want to say, I think you as consumers can make the biggest difference and have the biggest influence by writing letters to the manufacturers or calling them or whatever it is, and letting them know how you feel. One of the things I'm most excited about is the BioNature pasta. I was just on the aisle the other day fronting it and recognized that BioNature is replacing their plastic bags that they had the pasta in with ones that are made out of what's called paperboard. So imagine like a cereal box, you know, sort of a thin cardboard box. And I'm just really excited to see changes like that start slowly coming in. And I think they will continue to do that because those manufacturers are hearing from consumers that that is what we want. So keep up that pressure. Also, the co-ops in general, especially like PCC, have been working to find and encourage manufacturers to make different kinds of containers for our deli goods, because that's one of the places that we buy and sell a lot of plastic. So we are hopeful that collectively the co-ops can have enough influence on the manufacturers, and we'll see some of the new bioplastics coming up. Of course, you as consumers, and you know, we did the whole spring newsletter was all on low waste and zero waste and sustainability and celebrating ways people can bring their own bags. COVID has put a little crimp on all of that, I'll admit it. But you know, I think that anytime you can reuse your bags, it does help. Finally, there's a new project here in town, and we are partnering with them and have asked them to come and pick up some of our produce boxes. These are ones that look like cardboard, but they're made out of plastic. And the plastic project is going to take our plastic away. They're going to grind it up, and these pellets are then can be used to make something else, to remanufacture. You can turn them into kind of like Trex, like wood, to make picnic tables or flower boxes or whatever. And it's a very new, nascent project, and we're investing in it by supporting them, paying them to take those plastic produce boxes away. So that'll be starting this summer, and we're super excited, and we hope they're successful. And it's just, as I said, it's a pilot project, but we're excited and look forward to seeing the impacts of that. Any other questions?
Well, we do have one more that did just come in, and it's somebody asking whether there's any way to donate dividends to staff.
Donate dividends to staff.
Maybe, I don't, you probably have the most to say about that.
Yeah.
Thank you.
Thank you. Yes, exactly. You know, it gets really, really complicated. I wish it were just easy, but it isn't, unfortunately. If we were to do that, and then we'd have to turn around and give it back to our staff, it wouldn't come through as a donation. It would have to come through as a wage, and we'd have to tax it. I don't think that's quite what you intended. And sometimes things like that have unintended consequences. I always remember so sadly, one year we gave everybody a gain share bonus, and one of our employees, it pushed them over just enough into the category where they no longer qualified for some kind of assistance. And I felt so bad about that. It was like, I was trying to be helpful. So I think the short answer is no, there isn't. Shopping at the co-op is one of the best ways you can support our staff.
And we are doing the $2 an hour for everybody.
Yes, exactly. So that's going to help us. So yeah, just keep on shopping and keep on supporting your co-op. That's the best you can do. Thank you.
And if you'd like to donate that dividend, there's some great community organizations that
Absolutely.
could use your support.
Thank you, though. That was such a kind thought.
Do we have any other questions that have come in? None so far. Well,
Oh, there was a question about wine.
there was a question about wine. Do you
Yes.
remember what that question was? Maybe
I
you can
wanted
answer that
to,
one.
they basically said, why don't you carry, well, first of all, it's why do you carry any European wines? You should be focusing on local and Northwest. It's like, okay, well, I will say we have a small wine department, a well-rounded one, I think, and we certainly do feature a lot of local wines and a lot of Northwestern wines, and some of my very favorites are there. But I will have to say that European wines are just a little bit different. That terroir thing, you know, where they taste different and they have different flavor profiles and a lot of history and authenticity behind it. And many of them are grown using organic methods. So I think there is a place in the world for good European wines and good South American wines. We get the Argentinian ones from our co-op in Argentina, sorry, La Riojana. Those are great value wines. So I think we don't want to limit ourselves too much to just the Northwest wines. We want to be able to broaden our palates just a little bit and appreciate some wines from some other places.
That sounds like fun.
It's always good. I always enjoy that. Any other questions? No.
Well, all right.
Well, you guys are very well behaved and very quiet today. Owen, what would you like to do next?
Well, I think what we've scheduled, the meet and greet conversation with the candidates isn't scheduled until 4 o'clock. So I think we have to honor that timing. And we had scheduled a short break, but I guess we'll be a little bit of a longer break. So
we can just do it.
All right.
There's a lot of head nodding back here. People are like, let's just do it.
Let's just go ahead and do the candidate questions. Well, I still would like to take a break just for a few minutes. But first, I would like to officially adjourn this annual meeting. And we'll be back in 5 minutes at about 10 till 4. And when we return, you'll have a chance to meet our 4 candidates for the board of directors.
Woohoo.
We'll see you soon. Hi, everyone, we're back. As I said before, elections for the Food Co-op's board of directors open today. We have 4 open seats and 4 candidates running. Each candidate has to get a majority of yes votes for their seat in order to be elected to the board. If we have your email address, you should have gotten an email today that includes a link to our electronic voting page. But don't worry if you don't see that email. You can always go to our website at foodcoop.coop and look for the big button that says vote. Or you can vote with a paper ballot in the store. Don't forget to seal it in an envelope and include your name, member number, and signature on the outside of the envelope. Remember, only 1 vote per membership. So if you share your member number with others in your household, please make sure that the member whose name is on the account is the one who votes. You can find the candidate's statements and complete voting instructions in the summer issue of the Co-op newsletter around the table and on our website. Now, let's meet the candidates. In the past, we've hosted Cake with the Candidates or other opportunities to meet and greet the member owners who are interested in serving on the board. With public health restrictions, we're not able to do that this year. So instead, we're sitting down for a conversation and inviting you to listen in. We've come up with a couple questions to guide the conversation, and the member owners listening also got to suggest questions when you registered for this online meeting. First up is Kate Nichols. So here's the questions I've got for Kate. Out of the 5 different ends in our strategic plan, the 5 goals that we have as an organization, which is the one that you're most excited about?
The one I'm most excited about is our community has a resilient local and regional food economy supported by our co-op and community partners. It's important to me that our community has a local and regional food economy, especially to support our farmers and as a economic driver of the community. It's also especially become evident during this time that we need a strong food system to ensure food security for everyone. I'm also excited about the chance to support and grow the co-op's community partners to ensure that this happens.
That sounds great. So tell me about Your favorite foods. What are your favorite foods from the peninsula?
Well, I really like Medora caraway and dill sauerkraut and Pandamore's seeded sourdough bread.
How do those go well together?
What?
Do those go well together?
Yes. And I also discovered that the Meadery Mead not only has mead, but they have culinary lavender. And I used to be in Bellingham and did some partnering with the Bread Lab in Skagit, and it's really great to see that Finn River is using some of their experimental grains. That was a really fun thing to find out.
Great. Anything else you'd like to tell us about? Or,
No, I've been working on the product research committee, and we're learning all sorts of interesting things about the products, and looking
Great.
forward to doing more.
And it was based on that you thought, oh, let's go for the board.
Yeah,
Good. Thank you. Well, welcome and good luck in the election.
thank you very much.
So our next candidate for a brief conversation is Charlie Dick. Come on down, Charlie.
I'd be here.
So on my little interviewer sheet here, I've got the first question is, what do you see as the top 3 priorities for the next several years for the food co-op?
That would be maintaining financial strength in these challenging times, because we need to be prepared to make quick changes, sometimes very quick changes in-house. And by being financially strong, we can jump right on those opportunities. Second thing is that I see as a overdriving need is finding solutions to meet the quite diverse needs and wants of the community and the membership, both collectively as a group and individually as individuals, because we all are individuals. And then the last thing, and this is really tough, is anticipating what the individual and community needs will be, both in the short term and in the long term, so that we can successfully be ready to meet them when those challenges face us. So those are my top 3.
That sounds like plenty of work.
It is.
And I gather you might have some experience tackling some
I
of those
actually
questions.
have. I've worked in a lot of staff positions, advising senior management of issues that they need to address and make a decision about. So it involved a lot of background research, and that helps me kind of take a big picture look as well as drill down deeply.
So can you give a personal example of how having the food co-op in the community has been a positive for you?
Well, I can, and that's actually a little bit of Kate's story. When I first came to Port Townsend a few years ago, my, if you will, metaphor for a food shop was like a gas pump at a gas station. You know, they all put out food, gas pumps put out gas, goes in the car runs on it, I get from point A to point B. You know, what's the big deal? But then, when I arrived in Port Townsend, one of the first things I did was start to get to know the food co-op. And I found that it is an interesting place with a lot of diverse opinions and suggestions. And I sort of settled on playing with grains and making bread. And I started off with Fairhaven, and I moved to Nash, hard red, stone ground, whole wheat bread for breads. And through that, I stumbled into Finn River Grains, which is a local right down in Chinnacum. And he's growing a hard bread. And it behaves very differently from the Nash hard bread, much less gluten. So I've been experimenting in the breads that I make with that grain, and have actually started a dialogue with Keith, who's the farmer who raises it. And that's just terribly exciting to me, to be able to reach back to the farmer in the ground and say, what can I do better with your product? It's a unique experience, not one you'll find in the big stores.
No, absolutely not.
And Kate mentioned Finn River, and they're a great local farm. So, end of that promotion.
That's quite all right. They're one of our favorite local producers. So can you, let's see. So when Kate was talking about grains, it was about the local food system development.
Right.
As the end that she was most focused on. Is that the same for you, or is there another one?
Well, actually, I see both market relevance and outreach. Market relevance from the standpoint that a strong co-op serves its farmers, its producers, and its customers. So it strengthens the whole interconnection in the community. And the outreach is and can be a powerful change agent in supplying and educating the community. And I'm still way down on the curve of understanding what the co-op food system is all about, but I'm getting there, and it's very exciting. So those, to me, building the connections within the community and supporting the community are the two that excite me the most.
Well, it sounds like those are perspectives that would find a great role on the board. So,
Well, I certainly hope so.
yeah, I wish you good luck in the election.
Thank you, sir.
All right. Our next candidate that we're going to talk to today is Claire Thomas. And the question that Claire has brought up for our conversation is, what opportunities and or challenges do you see for our co-op and our community in the next several years? And that sounds like something we could talk about for a while.
It is. We don't have enough time. But the things that I thought were important to mention are, we're in the middle of a pandemic, and we're in the middle of a great cultural revolution around the country. It's really emotional times for everybody in our community and around the country and really around the world, just from, those two major things. But in terms of opportunities, if you just isolate the pandemic, I feel like the co-op has really, it's done a great job, but it's had to work really quickly to make sure that we continue to serve and protect the customers and the employees, from the hand washing stations and the barriers at the cash registers. And, I think that all of that has been so important, and it was an opportunity to learn, how we operate. And just continuing to make sure that we support our fellow human beings in this community, from the way that we operate for shoppers, but also the suppliers who we carry in the stores, to have a diverse group of people supplying the store. From the pandemic, I have personally seen a lot of creativity happening among groups of friends. Like Charlie mentioned, he's been making bread. And so I'm excited to see what new businesses come out of this time, from people either being forced into shifting careers or they've done it by choice, and from being at home. And I would look at that as new opportunities for partnership with the co-op. And then I think also we've seen the importance of local food here on the peninsula, and how our local purveyors and farms have kept our community fed. We really haven't had this massive shortage of foods like you've heard around, the country. And maybe we're out of flour, but, but not Nash's flour and not Finn River's flour. So, and then the difficulties, I think, kind of go hand in hand with what the opportunities were, is that a lot of small businesses are closing because of these changes that we're going through right now. Families are struggling from the job losses. They still need to buy food. So how can we support them in that? And maybe taking a look at some of our staple item wholesalers, and, just taking a look at that and having a discussion about it. And how can we continue to support our farmers who are small business owners, and, what are their rents looking like, and do they have enough outlets to sell their product? These are things that we've discussed here in our board meetings. And I realized that a lot of these that I'm mentioning would fall on Kenna's job role as our GM, but you know, we want to make sure that she's supported and yeah, just supported to make her decisions and do her work. So I think I'm
All right. Well, thank you for those answers. That sounds like a great perspective to bring to the board. Thank you, Claire.
Thank you.
And our fourth candidate today is Dave Dunn. And you may recognize Dave. He works in the store. And we've got the same question that Claire just answered, or a similar question, I think. What do you see as the top 3 priorities for the next several years for the food co-op?
Obviously, this is something we think about all the time. It's not about it's not about the present moment that you're always planning for. You're planning for the next few years. And that's going to guide what you do in the present moment. We are financially secure, like Kenna was talking about earlier. So really one of the most important things is to continue that and stay financially secure. So we're living in uncertain times, as Claire pointed out. And it is really important to keep stability as much as possible. And the co-op really has that position to stay stable, both in providing food, but also providing jobs to the community. We need to have a solid workforce. More people working in the community, that means more money flowing in the community, and more of these small businesses hopefully won't go out of business. Also, constantly look at the changing situations and respond in efficient ways. This is something that we're constantly trying to do, is not just respond like we had to with putting up shields and hiring more people to do the job, but we're also hiring to cover positions that have disappeared since people had to take time off. Another one of the top priorities I was thinking about is that we really need to remain accessible to those who can't afford to have healthy food normally in most communities. And we're dealing with an uncertain future for a lot of people losing jobs. So we really need to stay accessible to them, not just have the food available, but to be able to, something that they can afford. We have those things like the Co-op Basics program, but how can we grow this? And if people are even hurt worse, what can we do to help those people out? Basically, we need to identify the ways to give the greatest economic benefits to our members. Third priority is to remain the leader to drive our community food security. And that is like how Charlie Dick was bringing up just a while ago, concerning dealing with our local farmers like Finn River, Open Fire, Nash's, fill in the blank. But also dealing with the farmers market, Local 2020, all the different community groups and partners that we have, still kind of being that central force, that guiding force, or at least that nexus where everybody else communicates together and through. That's pretty much it for that.
All right. Well, that's a lot to chew on.
I had time, I got to write this out beforehand. So.
Well, and it's not a timed exam. Which of our ends are you most excited about out of the 5 strategic plan ends?
Well, what's fun is that it's really hard to pick one, so I just picked one.
And you know them pretty well.
Yeah, we talk about them frequently, yes. I chose the one that says our community has a resilient local and regional food economy supported by our co-op and our community partners. It's really related to what I was already talking about, is that we see the co-op as this point where everything else meets in the food economy, from dealing with the farmers, helping them survive, because they need to have jobs, they need to feel secure. So what can we do to make sure that they're secure? While at the same time, us working with them so they can provide food that our community can afford. The co-op is really an integral part of everyone's day excel. So as Charlie brought up, everybody needs food. So this is something that touches upon everybody. So this is something that we need to really be focused on. So how can we communicate? How can we bring in different partners from Jefferson Healthcare to the coffee shops that they have certain food waste that we need to deal with. So there's always things that we can do better by being that central focus.
Great. All right, so last question, it's a bit of a softball. What is your favorite food from the peninsula?
I just went with a straight, real quick answer, and that's the Midori Hakurei turnips. Got turned out of those years and years ago. They're the best things ever. A little bit of butter or olive oil, and that's it. But how can you pick one thing? So many things, from the Midori Krauts to Port Townsend, the Townsend Bay soap, my favorite. Panda More breads, Alpenfar cider, goes on and on. So hard.
Well, thank you for your work for the co-op, and I hope we'll see you on the board.
Thank you so much.
All right. So, thank you everyone for coming to the Food Co-op's annual meeting and Meet the Candidates session.